What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Sunday, September 24th, 2023, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 12:39 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and last night we had some unusual nuclear forces activity here in the United States. We had several nuclear war command and control planes in the air, and we also had a bunch of emergency action messages that were broadcasted in a very short period of time. I counted at least 30 emergency action messages in the last 12 to 18 hours or so, which is just uh, unusual to say the least. And there was one very long message, 120 characters long, which is very, very unusual. So I don't know what was going on last night, but we had 3 nuclear war command and control planes in the air. And we had that presidential Doomsday plane that got aerially refueled over the Mediterranean. It was originally destined for Ramstein, and it ended up landing in Djibouti. Now, Djibouti is an East African country, and it was actually a scheduled visit by the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. So I can confirm that Doomsday plane, presidential Doomsday plane in the U.S. that was aerially refueled in the Mediterranean, landed in Djibouti because Lloyd Austin had a scheduled meeting there. Okay, but what was weird was all of the emergency action messages last night. There were just dozens of them. Every few minutes, they were being broadcasted. And an emergency action message, if you don't know what that is, it's a nuclear attack option that is broadcasted by the Pentagon to U.S. nuclear forces, specifically our submerged nuclear armed submarines. Okay. So, for there to be that many in a short period of time means that something was brewing and the U.S. was just getting prepared. Maybe they were expecting Russia to retaliate for Ukraine assassinating the Russian Black Sea Fleet commander, okay, which they did in that missile strike on the Russian Black Sea Fleet headquarters. But we also have some major breaking news coming from Ukraine. The Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine, Irina Vereshchuk, has officially asked Ukrainians to leave the Crimean Peninsula because it's going to be liberated from occupation soon. Okay, so this is the Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine, Irina Vereshchuk, appealing to Ukrainians to leave the Crimean Peninsula immediately because it's going to be liberated from occupation. Okay, so we can see that Ukraine is stepping up their attacks on Crimea. And just a few hours ago this morning, uh, apparently some explosions were reported in Sevastopol. Okay, that's the capital of Crimea. And there were air raid sirens going off in Crimea. Here's a picture of one of those, kabooms in Sevastopol. Okay. And we also have some breaking news that apparently Ukrainian drones have targeted a Russian FSB building in Kursk. Okay, Kursk is in southwestern Russia, and apparently there was a direct hit on the FSB building, and a second drone hit an oil refinery nearby. Okay, so we have a drone attack this morning in Russia proper, okay, in Kursk, one of them hitting an oil field, one of them hitting a Russian FSB office, and then an attack on Sevastopol, okay. And of course, just a few days ago, on Friday, the massive strike on the Russian Black Sea Fleet headquarters, okay, where the Russian Black Sea Fleet commander was assassinated uh, by the Ukrainian military. And Russia got mad about that. They said that the US and the UK are now parties to the conflict because Ukraine used British Storm Shadow missiles to do it. And, they're claiming that the US helped Ukraine with targeting information, um, which is, you know, probably true, obviously. So the situation is continuing to escalate, guys. And then yesterday, Lavrov had some very strong words. He was speaking at a press conference, and he said that along the lines of, if the West wants to settle this on the battlefield, we'll settle it on the battlefield. Let's do it. Okay, that's what he said. All right, it's basically saying if the West wants a war, we'll go to war. All right, very, very strong words. He rejected any ceasefire proposals or peace deals with Ukraine. Um, so things are really escalating, guys. Okay, things are really escalating. Make sure you're getting prepared as best as you can. We also have cases climbing again of the you know what, and I'm getting various information from people about possibly lockdowns coming back. I'm getting information from people that more stores and more places are asking people to put on masks again and things like that. And certain schools are now shutting down temporarily in various places. So that's something that could potentially be on the horizon. We'll have to wait and see. But this situation in Ukraine is really, really escalating. Okay. Just look at what Ukraine has done the last 2 weeks. They destroyed a Russian Kilo class submarine, which is like one of Russia's main attack subs. They destroyed it with Western missiles. Okay, the Storm Shadow missiles. They destroyed a Russian warship, and they assassinated the Black Sea Fleet commander and destroyed their headquarters. Okay, plus all the drone attacks in Moscow. So these are what Russia called the red lines. Okay, attacking Crimea was the red line for Putin. So now we're going to have to wait and see what Russia does. We also have some breaking news coming from Kosovo. We have a very tense situation in Kosovo. One Kosovo police officer was killed and another injured in northern Kosovo near the Syrian border. The prime minister of Kosovo is blaming Serbia for it. So I want to just give you an update on that. Very, very tense situation. The president of Serbia is expected to make an emergency statement just in a couple of hours. Statement. So I'll update you guys on that later on, but let me just show you what we have going on right now as of 12:47 p.m. Eastern Time. We currently have a nuclear war command and control plane. This is a Takamo plane, a Boeing E-6B Mercury flying over Missouri. It just took off from Tinker Air Force Base, and yesterday we had 3 of these airborne, and 2 of them were airborne like all night long, and they were just doing loops all night long. And when they do those loops, it's when they're dropping their antenna down and they're sending out VLF messages to our submerged nuclear armed submarines. They have a giant antenna. It's almost like a fishing reel, that it's like a giant spool, and they release that spool and it spools out the antenna, and it can be up to 5 miles long. And so then they fly in circles or loops to make that antenna as vertical as possible. And then they can send out the VLF messages, which will penetrate through ocean water. Okay, they're very simple messages. They're 30 characters, 40 characters. They're encrypted, and they're broadcasted over public frequencies, but because they're encrypted, nobody knows what they mean. Okay, so that's why we can listen to them. We just don't know what they mean. They're just alphanumeric messages, but they have to be alphanumeric and coded because in order to penetrate through the ocean water at long distances, it has to be low bandwidth. Okay, so they have to keep these messages short and sweet, and that's why they do it that way. And so we have this one up in the air now, and we also have U.S. reconnaissance drone that's been up basically all night long and all morning patrolling the Kerch Strait Bridge and Crimea. So I don't know if Ukraine is going to start hitting the Kerch Bridge today. And then we also have P-8 Poseidons patrolling the Romanian Black Sea coast. There was just one patrolling earlier, and it's landing now at Sigonella, and there's a new one up to replace it. So they're basically maintaining constant surveillance here of the Romanian Black Sea coast. But look at how Forte 11, the RQ-4 Global Hawk, is heavily patrolling the Crimean Bridge. Okay, normally they're more to the west over here near Crimea, but now they're more to the east near the Crimean Bridge. So it's possible that there might be some kind of a strike on the bridge today, potentially. And maybe they're providing targeting info to Ukraine, or they're just trying to get battle damage assessment or whatever they're doing. So here were the two nuclear war command and control planes that were in the air last night, simultaneously in the air basically all night long. Okay, here's a zoomed in picture of the one off the west coast near San Francisco. It was just looping like for hours in this same loop pattern here. And then there was this one off the coast of Virginia Beach. Okay. And then there was a third one that was out near Bermuda, and it landed shortly before this one took off of Virginia Beach. Okay. And here's that presidential Doomsday plane that went to Djibouti. So that was because of Lloyd Austin. And then here we have a P-8 Poseidon that was heavily patrolling the Polish Baltic coast, flying really low. And they've been patrolling this area heavily recently. We also have a Polish presidential Doomsday plane flying from Warsaw to Washington, D.C. It should have landed an hour ago at 11:51 a.m. Eastern time. Poland, I think they only have like two of these planes. These are very similar to the U.S. E-4B. Obviously, they don't have the capability to transmit nuclear messages because Poland doesn't have a nuclear arsenal, but they have very similar capabilities. They're EMP proof. They have various types of countermeasures for disabling missiles that are locked onto it, things like that. And so it's very interesting that there would be one of these going from Warsaw to DC, just 2 days after the UN General Assembly wrapped up. So this is definitely a high-level Polish government official. Could be the Minister of Defense, could be the Polish president. It's somebody very important for them to be using a Polish Doomsday plane to get there. What they're talking about, I don't know. Is it the grain thing? I don't think they would do that for the grain thing. This could be about weapons. It might have something to do with weapons. Maybe they're giving Poland more weapons, or they want to do something, or maybe there's some kind of escalation on the horizon, and they want to, it's serious enough that they have to meet in person. So I want to just talk to you guys about Kosovo and update you on that. So here we have some video footage of the KFOR forces being deployed to northern Kosovo. So this is the NATO security force, okay, NATO peacekeepers that have been set up to prevent a war between Serbia and Kosovo. And so basically, these NATO forces, they just make sure that nothing happens. But let me read to you exactly what occurred. Earlier this morning, a Kosovo police officer was killed and another injured in northern Kosovo near the Serbian border. And now Kosovo authorities have closed the border with Serbia in northern Kosovo. There's currently ongoing firefights in northern Kosovo. Unfortunately, I can't share footage of those here. Okay. All roads leading to the town where these Kosovo policemen were killed have been closed. The name of the town is called Banjska, spelled Banjska. The president of Serbia is expected to make an emergency statement today at 20:00 hours local time. We have various reports coming in that 30 heavily armed men entered northern Kosovo with an armored vehicle and shot the police officer and wounded the other. And apparently, during the firefight with the police officers, these heavily armed men used grenades, including hand grenades and grenade launchers. And they also had automatic rifles. And now, apparently, these attackers have been surrounded at a monastery by Kosovo police and KFOR. And apparently, three of these attackers have already been eliminated by KFOR and the Kosovo police. So they have them surrounded and they're asking them to surrender. They don't want to surrender. So they've eliminated three of them. And here we have a picture of some of these NATO forces that have been deployed to northern Kosovo. You can see these Humvees here with 50 cals on top. Looks like at least a dozen or so. So they're definitely preparing for a worst case scenario. I want to just share with you what the Kosovo prime minister tweeted about this. He's basically blaming the Serbian government, saying that the Serbian government supported these this armed group. Okay, he's saying that the Serbian government sponsored it in order so this way they didn't send in like uniformed Serbian army. So they hired basically mercenaries to go in there and do this. And so he just posted some pictures from that monastery where they have these guys surrounded. So these are the mercenaries that apparently the Serbian government hired or armed, whatever, and they sent them in to take out those police officers. Let me read to you what he tweeted here. He said, "The murder and violence in the north is being perpetrated by these men, armed and organized professional forces in armored vehicles with no license plates. Let me restate, it is not ordinary Kosovo Serb citizens, but Serbian state-supported troops perpetrating these terrorist attacks." Okay. And then I'll read to you what he tweeted earlier, right after it happened. "A policeman has been killed today in the line of duty, while another has been injured in the northern municipality of Zviken. The gunfire against the police is ongoing. This is the reason why we have been calling for Serbia to stop sponsoring terrorist attacks in the north." And then he also tweeted here, "As we mourn the loss of our fallen officer, we reaffirm our commitment to preserving rule of law and security on our entire territory. Serbia's sponsorship of violence and terrorism is a gross infringement of both our national security and international law principles and values." Okay. So this could ignite another Balkans war. We'll have to wait and see, but this could ignite another Balkans war. If you remember, during the 90s, the Balkans War, I mean, it was really brutal, very, very bad situation. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. And here we have an official statement by the ambassador to Kosovo, the U.S. ambassador, Jeffrey Hovenier. So I'm going to read to you what the statement says. "The United States strongly condemns the orchestrated violent attacks on the Kosovo police this morning, September the 24th. The Kosovo police has full and legitimate responsibility for enforcing the rule of law according to the Constitution and laws of Kosovo. We recognize and respect its role as the first responder to emergency and crisis situations. We appreciate the ongoing coordination between the Kosovo Police, the EU Rule of Law mission in Kosovo, and the NATO Kosovo Force as appropriate. We are monitoring the situation closely and condemn these violent acts against the legitimate authorities of the Republic of Kosovo. The perpetrators must and will be held accountable and brought to justice. They should immediately cease their attacks." On behalf of the United States, I express my deep condolences following the death of the Kosovo police sergeant who was killed in the line of duty. I also convey my wishes for a speedy recovery for the two officers injured. Okay, so the U.S. is saying that they're basically throwing their weight behind Kosovo 100%. So, I'll keep you guys updated, but, it's not looking too good. And finally, I just want to mention that today is World Gorilla Day. Did you guys know that there's less than 1,000 mountain gorillas left in the wild? So please support our mountain gorilla foundations. One of them is the Virunga National Park, which is in Congo. They have a website. I'll leave a link to their website where you can donate. And you can also donate to the World Wildlife Fund and a bunch of others. But this is a really tragic situation with these gorillas. They fall victim to illegal logging and poaching. So we have to do what we can to prevent these gorillas from ceasing to exist. They have some T-shirts here on this website you can purchase. So I'll leave a link to this website and some other charities that you can donate to. But I will be doing another update later today. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you have your bell notification turned on so you can get notified when I do breaking news updates like this one. And other than that, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.